Hi guys, must be wondering, who the hell am I, and what the hell is all this? Well, my name is Kevin Lamb, and I am going to be starting a channel here on YouTube. I'm going to be starting here with a game, Her Lie I Tried to Believe. What you would expect from this channel is a variety of things, from skits to, I don't know, vlogs to gaming, of course, as you can see already on the screen. And that's just about it. I mean, this is going to be my first recording of this game and my first video I'll be uploading to YouTube. So let's get started and get right into it. This is a visual novel, and let me just give you guys a fair warning, because this is probably going to be really irritating for most of you, that I'm not really the best reader. Yeah, I'm just gonna put that out there, so bear with me. This is also, I guess, very actually not frustrating, but nerve-wracking, sorry, for me to do this by myself in my room by myself. Yeah, so bear with me, guys. I will try and not fuck up the text. So let's start it. I wonder why I didn't notice at the time the meaning behind all this. Sorry. Now that I understand it, I can declare with certainty that my life would have been completely different if I had seen through it sooner. Was I too insensitive? Or maybe I simply wished I didn't really understand? No matter. Maybe you will see the truth where I couldn't. One sec, guys. Let me just rearrange something real quick. I know I should have done this beforehand, but I just want to move the mic closer to my face. Just like that. Alright. Let's go. It all started in elementary school. Not middle school, nor high school, but elementary school. Just to tell how long she's been tormenting me. Yes, a girl. It is always about a girl, isn't it? Couldn't have been a rivalry between boys. No, it needed to be a girl. Fuck. There's no predetermined time to mark when exactly this happened. It just kind of turned out this way, I guess. The moment I laid my eyes on her, I knew I would hate her. How can you hate such a cute girl? What the hell did she do? You guys are in elementary school. She was tall. Well, not tall, but still taller than me back then. You know how it goes. Her hair was not very long. Boyish. Would probably be a good way to define it. But again, this wasn't such a surprise during that time. Her strength must have been similar to mine even. Her feature resembled most of the girls. She wasn't special, that's for sure. She had brown eyes, black hair, a cute little girl, and it stopped at that. Just that. Yet there was just one thing, only one simple thing that separated her from the rest of those pure girls. Her eyes. There was something, and I'm not talking about twinkles or anything of the sort. I'm talking about something darker, something that doesn't belong to a kid. But she hid it, or at least tried to. And it worked with most people, but not with me. I wonder if she saw the same thing in my eyes. Maybe that's why I felt so content for her. Maybe that's why she answered with contempt with some unknown feeling of her own. I don't know how it happened. Did she provoke me at first? Sorry, I just saw something. My bad. Did she provoke me at first? Or was I the one pushing this conception at the sole intent of our relationship? The fact that we were rivals. I think it started because she was beating me at running. She was beating me at pretty much everything, really. Okay, so you're a sore loser. That's what I'm getting at. But I think running was something more perceivable, and that's why I felt it weighing so much more on my mind. To be beaten by a girl. Oh, Lord. And it wasn't that she had a talent for running or whatever. It was simply that I was mediocre. And it would have probably been alright with me if it weren't for that smile. That smile, always teasing me so brightly so. And it wasn't that compelling either. I mean, more often than not, she would be missing some teeth due to her growth, so... But again, I don't fully remember why she started doing this, but every time she'd finish before me in a race during PE, she'd always look at me with that smile and say, "Better luck next time, Tim." For me, it was the greatest insult. For a boy who tries to distinguish himself from the others, in an environment such as an elementary school, to be beaten and laughed at by a girl. There's no way I wouldn't take it personally, so I made it kind of my life mission to be here at every opportunity I'd get. But sadly for me, I was just an average guy. And while she was too an average girl, she was still slightly better than I was. I think for her, it was simply a game, something to put a smile on her face or to feel proud about. Seeing me fail and looking so irritated by the fact she might have thought I was also amusing myself somehow. It was only when winter came that she understood the depth of my feelings. We were playing King of the Hill on a snow mountain with a couple of kids. I said we, but we weren't even friends or even really acquainted with one another. We knew each other's names, and that was that. Maybe it made even more of an impact because of this, because no one was really playing aggressively. We were just kind of pushing each other out from the top of the mountain to claim it our own. But when I saw her, that girl, climb to the top of the mountain and try to take this fleeting achievement from me, I just kind of snapped. I just remember thinking, this is mine. You won't take it away from me. And she didn't. She didn't, because I grabbed her with all my strength and threw her to the bottom of the mountain, directly on hard ground. It must have hurt. It must have hurt really bad. But my thoughts weren't there. I was completely euphoric with the idea that I protected what was mine, that I was finally beating her at something. I guess our strengths were really no match after all. The kids were all regrouping themselves around her for some reason. I finally just understood that I did something that I shouldn't have done. Their glares on me told me so. Yet I didn't feel bad. I mean, this girl has been tormenting me way more than this. But they didn't know how. How could they know? Finally, the girl, Cassandra, got up painfully from the ground. She didn't cry. She didn't try to stir up compassion from those around her. No. She simply looked at me. Looked at me with those eyes. That's when I knew she finally understood how I feel. That's when I knew she finally started hating me. She became serious. That rivalry I thought we had was nothing more than a normality for her. So, by seriously trying to beat me at everything, she became one of the best students in her class. I could say some stupid shit like I wanted her to become this way because I knew she was faking to be someone else, but that's clearly not the case. The only reasons I ever had in wanting to crush her were simply juvenile and immature ones at best. I don't think she was fake before any stretch of the imagination. I just think she had that much potential. Sure, I also became better because of the fact, but she always had that last word in the end. And her smile changed too. There was no longer this faint warmth emanating from it. It was cold, like this thing I thought I had once seen in her eyes. She finally looked at me the way I always looked at her. I guess I opened her eyes, and she then saw me for whom I truly was. I didn't feel bad about it. At least I thought I didn't. If I had any emotion back then, it was probably numbed by this excruciating feeling of being humiliated. Also, she stopped saying her usual line when beating me. She continued saying something alright, but it was no longer that line. Instead, she just said something like, "Are you even trying?" Or she would say it as often as she could. Oh, and she would say it as often as she could. It was no longer simply when we were running against each other, but also during our academic reports and even during luck-influenced games. My elementary school life ended with an extremely bitter aftertaste. I became the laughingstock of my class, and I somehow helped Cassandra become even better than she already was. Oh, boo-hoo. A complete defeat indeed, but there would be no other chances for me to prove my worth. I knew there would. A chance to crush her, that is. Middle school brought some changes with it. Well, not right away, but in the second part of the first year, for sure. I became taller, or maybe she became smaller. I don't know. Since she was the sole thing I ever set my eyes on, she became my reference when it comes to any kind of physical changes. I could hardly believe it, yet it was something anyone could have predicted. Me becoming taller than her. For some unknown reason, we still ended up in the same class. We had somehow chosen the same options. Distinguishingly enough, our hatred towards each other was still very real. So it was like we only picked things up from where we left them during elementary school. Her hair was now longer. She started little by little to take up shapes which made her body no longer be regarded as one of a kid anymore. Even I could see how beautiful she was becoming, yet I was still repulsed by her. Likewise, I changed in a drastic fashion. I became taller, and I gained some mass along the way. Again, I was very much an average guy, but I still tried the best I could to keep my body in shape in order to eventually win against her. And that paid off. Or maybe it was just a direct result of those apparent changes. But in any case, I finally started to have the upper hand on her, at least during PE and other physical competitions. I was no longer chasing her. She was now chasing me. Can you at least show a bit of determination? That was my line. What a joke, really. Couldn't even think of anything clever to say, so I just stole her line and made it my own. And I wouldn't stop at that. I wanted my back to be as far in front of her as it possibly could. So I decided to start playing basketball to build up stamina and keep my body in shape. In no time, I became somewhat popular, and I don't think I was any good, really. My whole team was just that bad. That's all. And anyway, popularity didn't interest me. My eyes were still locked on her all this time. Sure, I played the card of the cool kid, faking to enjoy everyone's eyes on me, but it was just another way to get back at her. Cassandra. Just her name makes me shudder. She was popular in elementary school, but now she was kind of distant and solitary. Then look at me and acknowledge my existence. It was how I thought, but every time I looked her way, she never looked at mine. I came to realize that she had lost all interest in our rivalry. It was only natural. I mean, she no longer had any chance when it comes to physical performances. So she decided it was time to change gears. If I wanted to take everything away from her, I would need to build up not only my body, but my mind too. That bitch is ignoring me like that. I'll show you just how much you made me suffer. I feel like this main character, Tim, is taking this, in my opinion, a little bit too far with this. I've been beaten plenty of times by girls, and I don't think I've ever had a traumatizing elementary school experience of losing to a girl and being made fun of it. But I guess it happens to some people. Okay, it took me a long time to better my academic results. A long time indeed. It was all but natural to me, so in the end, I had no other choice but to drop the basketball team in order to focus on my studies. The 2 years of middle school ended. but she was still always one step in front of me. One day to the next, she would stop teasing me or even look proud of what she's accomplished. The glimpse of darkness that I once saw in her eyes, now the only thing persisting me to be seen throughout her features. High school finally came, but luck was not on my side this time around. We no longer had any class in common. Luck? Wonder why I looked at it that way. Probably because tormenting her gave me so much satisfaction. Yikes. It didn't matter though. I could still compete with her in the midterm exams and the likes. All I needed to do was to keep on studying until I felt completely satisfied with my results. My popularity had already degraded almost to the point of being called inexistent. Yet there was still girls that confessed to me from time to time. Every time I would turn them down though. If I had time messing around with girls, I probably had time to study even longer than I already was. At least that's how I tried to keep myself focused. So, you understand how I felt pretty stupid when I first saw her with a boy. You jealous, Tim? Come on, bro. Until then, she didn't seem to show any interest in the opposite sex. I wonder why she changed now all the times. Sure, she was quite good looking. She was a lot more feminine than when she was younger. No wonder she would be popular with the boys. But with how long I've been watching her, I couldn't think of it any other way than why now of all times. I was mad. I was disappointed. I felt humiliated. So does that mean she doesn't need to study as much as I do to beat me? Is that what she's trying to say? This made me put even more effort on my studies. There is no way it's going to end up the way you want it to be this time. I was sure that I could crush her during our next midterms, so you could imagine my surprise when I actually did. The grades of the top 50 were displayed on the sheet of paper in the main hall of the school. Normally, she would be in the top 5, while I'd be in the top 10. But this time around, it was reversed. How could this be? I was angry. I should have been happy. But I wasn't. How could I be? This wasn't supposed to be this way. There was too large of a margin between the two of us. That was impossible. I remember that right then and there, I looked around me, really pissed off. That's when our eyes met. For the first time in at least a year and a half, our eyes met with each other. And while mine were extremely cold, hers were as passionate as ever. As if she never changed during all those years. She even smiled at me, distinguishedly so. I walked in her direction, unable to keep my cool. Well, what's wrong with you? Oh, yikes. I blurted out as if there was intimacy in our relationship, when in reality, it was the first time I spoke to her since middle school. Oh, excuse me? Yikes. Sorry guys for the terrible voice acting. Yikes. Bear with me here, guys. Alright. She said to me, trying to look clueless at the reason for my forceful approach. What a great actress she was. As if she doesn't know the reason for me to be all worked up. Is this because of your new boyfriend? Is this jealousy I hear? She's doing this on purpose. Don't fuck with me. Oh, I take a hold of her collar aggressively and look at her directly in the eyes. I hear others around us talking as though I'm about to hit her or something. They seem almost scared of what I might do, yet she doesn't look scared at all. She reciprocates my stare and waits for my words. What is it with that grade, eh? Are you not taking it seriously anymore, now that you have a boyfriend? Is that it? My grade? So you came to talk to me just because of my grade? Her eyes became stern. The inoffensive smile she once had on her face disappeared viciously. Tell me, why is it? Why is she changing all of a sudden? This shouldn't happen. Why, you ask? I don't know, it just ended up that way, that's all. Don't give me that shit. I know you. You know what? She pushed me upon hearing my words. I lost the hold I had on her as a direct result. You know nothing, Tim. Whatever. You better get your act together next time, or else Else what? A guy closed in on us and put his hand on my shoulder in a warning kind of fashion. Is this guy troubling you, Cass? I shook his hand off me and walked away without looking back. I'll show you next time who's the best between the both of us. You better prepare yourself. I think she said something back to me, but I didn't hear it. I was too extremely frustrated by her attitude to hear or see anything around me. People probably looked at me the wrong way, but it didn't matter to me. As if everything I had been doing has no value. As if I was ever the only one seeing ourselves as rivals. But this should be okay now. By confronting her like that, I gave her a little push. That's all she needs. Her pride will come out on top in the end. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose her to her. I'll show her. Just you wait, Cassandra. How stupid I was. Not understanding that the person I thought I hated the most was also the one I needed the most. Is this what we call irony? I had studied in the past 3 years on the multitude of subjects. Yet I was so extremely clueless to the most natural things surrounding my life. It was only at the time next exam week that I finally realized the obvious flaw in the way of perceiving the world. I was so sure of myself. Oh, for that I was. There was nothing else occupying my mind during all those weeks of self-studying and cram school. I'll beat her fair and square. Last time wasn't a fair fight, but she had purposely neglected her studies for something as stupid as love. But now will be different. I guess it's probably because of my obsession with my studies that I had yet to notice something so important, something that I shouldn't have missed. In front of the piece of paper which numbered out the best students, I was searching frantically like a madman for something that was definitely supposed to be there. Not there, not there, not there, not even there. What the fuck? That's impossible. She must have changed her name or something. This can't be happening. But no matter how many times I look at it, I was forced to conclude the same thing over and over again. She wasn't there. Or here. She was not in the top 50. I thought that maybe ridiculously enough she had skipped a year somehow, even though we were in the middle of the semester. But she wasn't in the top of the third years either. How could that be? I went directly to the ones in charge of those stupid lists. They probably had made a mistake, useless as they were. That's where I heard something preposterous, something so fucking ridiculous I had no other choice but to snap back at them and insult the lots of them. They told me, and this is with the most serious tone there is, that she had quit school a month and a half ago. A fucking month and a half? So while I was uselessly, obsessively, foolishly trying the best I could to surpass this girl that I thought was my equal, she was messing around probably with boys or whatever and didn't think of me as even worth the effort. She probably thought she could already have everything in life since she was so fucking good, and she left me here like a fool, lingering with this fucking feeling inside of my throat that just doesn't want to disappear. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to believe it, but it was that truth nonetheless. I was just too fucking blind to see it coming. That was all. Fuck. That bitch. She won even when I was sure of winning. This hopeless feeling I was so eager to give her was now stuck within me, unable to get rid of it. She was no longer someone I could go head to head with since she had given up entirely. I asked for the reason for her departure, and they told me it was a personal matter. Probably had something to do with her family or whatever, but I knew it wasn't. Fucking bullshit. It was probably her way to get back at me Knowing that I was finally... Oh, it's all about me, Tim. Holy. Come on, man. Give the girl some space. Knowing that I was finally going to beat her, she just ended up quitting to make sure it never happens. But then I had a revelation. What if I decided to wait for her another year? Yeah, that would be a great idea. I just need to purposely fail, and then... But then I realized I just topped number 2 in my last academic results, and I was pretty much sure of passing. This was over. I'd lost the one thing that was keeping me going. For a time, I seriously wondered what I was going to do with my life now that I've lost all interest. But eventually, it didn't matter. All that much, since I had done this for a good part of my youth, I couldn't easily stop. So I just continued studying the best I could, with emptiness as my sole source of motivation. High school came to an end extremely quickly. The last day of school, I looked around me and I saw a lot of students happily chatting together, probably feeling proud of themselves. Some had boyfriends and girlfriends at their side, their arms around them, as though the world no longer had any secret to them. I was the best of my class, one of the best of the whole school, and yet I knew nothing. I felt hollow. I was already going to the top university. I could see my future without anyone telling me. Yet I had lost something by becoming who I am. I know this, but since I'm not one of them, I don't know what that is. Oh. Chapter 2, a group date, maybe? We got time to play this. We can do this one. Alright, one sec, guys. Reading this, my throat's so dry. Holy. Alright. Alright, let's have her. 2 years. It took 2 years to see her again. By that time, my majoring was very well underway as I was starting to be used to the university lifestyle. I was living on my own inside a gloomy one-room apartment for less than a year. I had zero passions and only knew how to do one thing correctly, which is, of course, studying. As if I was the subject of a curse a long time ago. I didn't know why I was so into it. Yeah, I'll probably have a lot of doors opened up to me in the future, but what if I don't want to enter any of them? I have no motivation to climb the ladder and surely wouldn't know what to do with all the money being thrown at me. But I guess this type of attitude could attract some people, as if they know talking to you would inevitably boost their own self-esteem. That's how I made my first friend, since, well, have I ever had a friend before? Well, it's not as if I was seeing him as a friend either way. He was in most of my classes during high school and took that as an opportunity to start socializing with me during our courses together. I went with the flow, finding my own amusement in his somewhat carefree demeanor. That's when one day, out of nowhere, he decided to invite me to this, I don't remember how it's pronounced. I don't call it a date. A group date? Maybe? Fuck it. Anyways, it was this thing where a group of men and women of the same age and logically of the same number meet with each other for almost the first time in an attempt to find love. It was obviously a cheap excuse for trying to find somebody to empty your load in. But whatever, to the point I was in, it didn't matter all that much. Trying to fuck someone was, as most of the men in my age, any age really, one of my priorities, even though pretty much inaccessible. I didn't get out of my way to try and have sex, and that's probably the reason why I had zero sex life. So I accepted. He was kind of odd though, he said to me. "You won't regret it, Tim. I even have a surprise waiting for you." And he would laugh like an imbecile. He was an imbecile, and I only realized that he meant by that when I entered the bar where we were meeting at. They were 7 waiting. They were 8 with me, 4 boys, and 4 girls. 2 of those girls were completely unattractive, fat or with a big chin and a weird hairstyle. The other was already almost in bed with that big mouth guy, so those 3 were unfuckable. That was my first thought upon entering the bar. The second thought wasn't as different as the first one, but was still very surprising indeed. It was her. Oh. She was there, drinking a beer, casually talking with that other guy, sports-like type. Another one unfuckable, but of course, not for the same reason. I should just get out of here. This is so pitiful. It's not even funny. That's when Mike, my friend, noticed my arrival and forcibly introduced me to the group. Oh, this is the guy I was talking about. Hey Tim, come, don't be shy. We were waiting for you. I almost clicked my tongue out loud, but thought otherwise. Maybe that big chin one could be fuckable with a couple of beers. Oh, jeez. I sat next to my friend. I tried not to look too much on the right-hand side of the table because the symmetry irritated me somehow. He said my name out loud and said everyone else's name right after. I don't remember any of them, and seriously don't want to use even the most useless part of my brain to store at one of them. I still politely greeted everyone until it came to that name. And I could introduce you to Cassandra, but I guess I don't have to, right? I looked at him, annoyed. He's clearly happy to introduce her to me, as though me meeting her again would make me happy, like it's a gift or something. Why the fuck does he even know the fact that we already knew each other? I said, yeah, with the hand scratching my hair, a bit flustered. Likewise, she didn't look my way at all. My bad. She didn't look my way all that much and only said hi, with a voice that could be misunderstood as a whisper. I'm grateful for that, even if I harbored hate for her for the most part of my life, and probably still. The fact that she understood my reluctance to face her was what saved the little composure I had left. So I was able to enjoy my beer while chatting with the group of people around me, and it didn't disturb me for all that much that she was actually there. It was just that, in the heat of the moment, I didn't know what to think of. I didn't even understand the feeling I had for her anymore. I hated her for so long at a time that for me it was though she wasn't even human. And the fact that she disappeared completely from my life at one point, my mind only assumed she was dead. So a non-human presumed dead, looking so lively and joyous, it was only natural that I was baffled a bit. Yeah, that's a good reason. She was sexy, no longer cute or beautiful, but sexy. Okay. She had a blue shirt which underlined well her overly seductive forms, a black skirt that I couldn't see very well due to the table, and her hair was loose and ended a bit under her chest. I tried not to look at her, but it was hard when surrounded by ugly girls. I still did what I must, and I tried to hook up with the chin girl in front of me. After an hour and a half, I was at my 4th beer, and the first couple decided to finish the night alone. This made things a bit complicated. Now there were me, the fat girl, my friend, the big chin, the sports dude, and whatever the other girl that I once knew. So, it was obviously becoming harder and harder to actually not interact with her. That's when the phone of the girl in front of me, Chin, started vibrating. She became kind of hysterical by I think it was a message that she received on her phone. She said a couple of words to the fat girl sitting next to her and then took off. The fat girl looked at me a bit awkward and said, "Sorry, her ex just texted her, so..." As if it was the most understandable thing in the world. So that ugly chick just dumped me for a guy that probably flushed her a while ago. I was depressed, but not for her departure per se, obviously. At least the alcohol started to do its work. That's when everything started to turn into the wrong direction. My friend, who was seated on my left in front of the fat chick, was now seated on my right. The sports dude who once chatted with that girl was now enjoying his time with the fat chick on my left. That's when I realized that my friend, without notifying me in advance, started a group conversation with her and me. So, from where do you two know each other? I was staring at the table, maybe at the beer in my hand, trying not to look too interested. I think she answered him something while giggling, but I don't remember all that much. She too seemed to be drinking quite heavily. That long? Man, I bet you're glad to be able to meet each other like this. Maybe it's fate. Fate. Who knows? Ha ha ha. He was irritating me. It was so obvious that he was the one who pulled this off. Perhaps they were in a mesh with each other to humiliate me or something? My bad. That was when I uttered something that I probably shouldn't have. I don't know why I thought it would be a great idea. Tell me. I looked at him with a bit of defiance. How do you know that she and I knew each other anyway? I looked at his every change in expression. I probably thought he would be confused, unable to explain himself properly. But that wasn't it. He was surprised that I didn't know the reason behind it. Come on, man. Everyone in high school probably knew about it. Don't you remember that nasty girl with her friends who were starting bad rumors about Cass because she just quit school? Ah. Fuck. Now I remember. Oh man, I remember still. You were so ruthless. You walked up to those girls and started insulting the shit out of them about how uneducated they were, how they were wasting their time and had no future. And then you started mumbling every achievement Cass ever accomplished, to the prize she won during some piano competition, to the national rank she topped with her academic results. And you know, I'm not the one to hit a girl or anything, but this one was so asking for it. She didn't try to listen one bit and was continuously cutting you off about some bullshit she heard somewhere down the street. How ridiculous. This was when I was still very much on edge from losing what I thought was the only drive in this world. Some bitches were bad-mouthing her about something along the lines of prostitution or some stupid shit like that. It was the week after she had quit school, so anything goes, I guess. But then, since they had nothing else more useful to do, they started to say some bullshit about her cheating during exams, or giving sexual bribery to teachers in order to top higher in midterms. That's when I lost my shit, because telling those ridiculous things would insinuate that the rival I thought as my equal was nothing more than a fake, and this was completely unacceptable. And yes, I would have beaten the shit out of them if it weren't for the teachers meddling with it. Hey, Tim, do you remember what you shouted to her to make her shut up? Enough! Even if she prostitutes herself or even cheats during the midterms, doesn't change the fact that she's way better than the lots of you. At least she achieved everything she ever set herself out to do. You low-life bitches will never understand the meaning of the term achievement as long as you still live in this world. Do you understand? You worthless piece of shit! That was pretty savage, though. I remember it down to the very last syllable. I have no fucking clue why, though. He said it out loud, not nearly as perfect as I remembered it, but it was still surprising hearing it from someone else's mouth. Ah, oh, look, she's blushing. I then instantly noticed her blushing by understanding the meaning of those words. This was bad. This was a misunderstanding. I never said this in order to protect her. I said it because at that moment, I knew for a fact that you were head over heels for her, and I found it so tragic you probably never had the chance to say it to her. So you can understand why, when I met with her out of absolutely nowhere at my part-time job. He points casually towards her. I had to try and arrange something out for the both of you. So that's why you invited me here tonight. I was then at my 5th beer. I was not what we could call a heavy drinker back then, so I was agitated alright, it was easily concealed by my wasted features which were naturally more blatant. Yeah, man, what else? We're friends, right? You look so down all the time, I thought this might cheer you up. You didn't have to. Seriously, you didn't have to. You fucking idiot. She wasn't saying anything much. She was looking my way silently, but I couldn't muster the strength to look at her directly. I wonder why she was so silent when she was saying all those things which were directly related to her. Then, oh, that's my girlfriend texting me. Sorry guys, gotta go. My useless friend got himself up in a hurry. What do you mean? You have a girlfriend? What was he doing here then? Damn, I love my cool crap. Yeah, tonight was for you, man. He approached me ever so slightly, his breath bringing the stench of warm beer with it, and whispered into my ear, "Enjoy yourself, will ya?" And with this, he disappeared with the trace. Well, not disappeared, but I was intoxicated to the point where the actions my mind perceived around me were as though they were made in fast forward. Life and time were moving rapidly without my consent. This was extremely awkward. I turned to my left to ask the other two what they planned to do. I desperately wanted to end the night right then and there, but hey, have you any idea what time? There was no longer anyone seated there. Noticing this, I looked around me to realize that she and I were the only ones left at the table. They took off 10 minutes ago. Maybe? Or was it 15? Oh lord. Sorry guys! Holy shit! Bear with me! Fuck! For the first time that night, I made eye contact with her. Her face was flushed, slightly red by the effect of alcohol. It would have been visible to a blind that she was totally wasted. I didn't want to speak to her. I didn't want to have another minute wasted in her presence. But social etiquette was forcing me to. At the very fucking least, make sure she doesn't die before reaching her home. Let's get out of here, I said, pretty coldly. She accepted right away. She didn't show any fear of being alone with me, even though we were complete strangers to one another. Want to take a cab? I asked forcefully, but she said, let's walk for a bit, alright? I clicked my tongue, but this time I made sure she heard it alright. She didn't mind, or at least she didn't show it. Okay. She had a smile plastered on her face ever since we left the bar, not slightly affected by my cold behavior. Sorry. She looked happy, irritatingly so. She didn't talk at all. We were completely silent, and it was all right with me. It was all right until she stumbled a bit on my shoulder accidentally. Ah, sorry. Oh, sorry. Her body touched mine. I felt for the two extremely little seconds it lasted. The form of her breasts on my arm, and then the palm of her hand on my shoulder. It was then I realized that she was a member of the opposite sex. She looks happy, doesn't she? With the happiness that she stole from me. If she hadn't quit school on that day, I'm sure our expressions would be reversed right now. Yet she's always been the one with the smile in the end. While we continued walking silently, but we were somehow closer now that I helped her back on her feet. Wait a minute. Isn't it that kind of situation? You know? That one where I walk her by the closest hotel, and she's too wasted to understand what she's doing, what's going on. Maybe if I asked her nicely, she would even follow me willingly. Maybe she's still a virgin. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I couldn't satisfy myself by taking away her pride back then. But what about now? I could probably rape her. What am I reading, bro? Okay, her, and take this away from her. That pride, and most of all, that smile. My jeans are starting to feel tight by those simple thoughts. I take another look at her. Yes. What a beautiful body she has. Those hips, and those breasts. Even her lips seem obscene right now. It wouldn't be a total shame for her to be entirely ruined by a complete stranger. To be completely stained without any means of getting this purity she had back. I could probably play with her over and over again until her mind becomes as hollow as mine. It has now reached its complete magnitude. A throbbing sensation is starting to be felt in anticipation for this forbidden act my thoughts were drowning themselves in. One simple look at me would have probably given it away, but she's too preoccupied with trying to walk straight to even look my way. Imagining such pressure, so tainted with the sin of my imagination, let loose without any restraint, only pushes me further down this unforgiving path that shouldn't be crossed. But I already decided, didn't I? I'm already fantasizing on her purity, only to increase the pain I would most definitely inflict on her. I want to make her cry, realizing she will lose something she will never get back. At the time, I will lick every last tear from her face until she's completely drained out. My hand approaches her thighs slowly. Hey, I don't want no part of this, bro. Hey, Tim, back. Let's back off, man! If I can simply get my hand around her to help her keep her balance, as an excuse, I could easily control her destination. That moment will seal her fate, and at that time, I will rip away that smile from her perfect face that I always hated so much. Maybe at the end of the day, I will be satisfied enough to forgive her. Maybe at the end of the day, I will finally become whole again. Okay. The only thing I regretted is not having acted the part at the start of the night. If I had faked to be a gentle and caring and laughed with her about how young we were back then, I could have pushed her even further down the road of complete hopelessness by betraying even her expectations. She said softly out of nowhere. I abruptly stopped my hand from getting any further. I didn't notice because I was too focused on her alluring forms, but she was looking at my face. For how long? I had no idea. But she saw it. That, I'm sure of it. My disgusting expression, already tarnishing her with my eyes. She saw everything. And yet, the only thing she said was, I'm sorry. I knew how much you hated me. Yet Then she stumbled on me again, with even less restraint. Her eyes, those eyes, I remember. Were they really this way? It can't be. I stopped briskly. By that means she stopped to herself. Do you have any money? I asked mechanically. Not much. She replied as if knowing the question would inevitably be asked. Can't be helped. I pulled out my phone and again mechanically inputted a string of numbers. What are you doing? I didn't reply to her. I didn't even look at her. I hook her away. Instead, yes, at the intersection of, and I put away my phone emotionlessly. Tim, I thought it would have been nice to talk for a bit. Don't you wanna? She seems let down. What does this woman want from me? Didn't she see my face just a moment ago? Is she that desperate to be raped by some loser like me? I take my wallet out, take two $20 bills and shove it in her hand violently. The taxi will be here in 5 minutes. This should cover the bill. I turn around without waiting, or saying goodbye for all that matter. She doesn't say anything either. She simply looks at me with those eyes which were even colder than mine. Okay. an unexpected encounter. So we actually haven't. I'm not too sure if this is a visual novel that actually has choices or not. But let me tell you something. If we had a choice to go through with whatever the fuck he was thinking about just then, nuh-uh, Tim. That's not how I roll, bruh. But yeah, it doesn't seem like we'll ever have a chance to choose our own path with the stories. So I guess we'll just have to keep going and see what Tim ends up doing. One sec. I had hoped to never see her again, and for the better part of 2 years, it turned out pretty much that way. I might have glanced at someone with similar features once or twice during that time, but I simply avoided coming closer to that particular person in order to escape the chance of an encounter. I had graduated from college and was now working for a company for less than a year. I diligently focused on my work the same way I did during my time at school. Even though I didn't have any ambition, the way I did my work mechanically like a machine was nothing to be proud of about, supposedly. At least, that's how my paycheck saw the whole thing. My life seemed to have been pretty much set in stone by then. I even finally found a girlfriend who could deal with my boring self and my even more boring life. So I had someone to fuck a couple of times during the week to efficiently evacuate my stress. I don't like you, Tim. Just putting that out there real quick. I honestly don't like this guy. I didn't love her. I think she knew it. Did she simply turn a blind eye, or was she too using me for her own interests? It doesn't really matter. I don't think she loved me either. Not that I think I would love myself even if I forced to. It was a night like many others. That particular client loved to meet in a peculiar environment, even if it was only to speak business. Not that he was the only one to be the only one with such special requests, and to be honest, it didn't bother me all that much. It was the third time maybe, and that I could come to this place. Normally we would meet on a Tuesday, but because of some unforeseen inconveniences, we decided that we should meet on the following Thursday instead. It was a place that could be attributed to the category of adult entertainment, yet it was the traditional strip club, like most men would think of when hearing the term adult entertainment. No, it was a place a bit more classy, but don't understand alright. The theme around the whole establishment was very much sex indeed, but instead of the term prostitutes, the woman would bear the name of hostesses, and instead of dancing nude around the pole indecently, they would simply serve drinks and food to the clients, all the while sitting around the table to fake interest of the client's pathetic life. Some people might probably wonder why such a business would be categorized as something similar to a strip club. But what you need to understand here is that every woman serving in that particular establishment can be bought for the night. The only thing is, you need to pay the high price, alright? Those women are high quality prostitutes after all. So I was with the man, speaking of everything except meaningful topics until the hostess came in. She started asking if we needed anything to drink, but became agitated in the middle of her speech all of a sudden, probably because she finally understood with whom she was dealing with. Because obviously, it was her. She was there, in front of me. Those eyes, this smile, I could hardly believe it. She was as beautiful as ever, and with what she was wearing, a tight, essential black dress, it was hard not to think of anything else but sex when looking at her. Those dark urges and that made their apparition 2 years ago, the vulgar and evil passion which had driven my mind completely wild back then. Everything that I felt on that single night was rekindled instantly. The woman I thought might have been a virgin 2 years. Sorry, guys. A virgin 2 years ago was working as a prostitute. For how long has she been doing this? Again, she made a fool out of me. I fought those urges the best I could on that night, thinking how wrong it would be to subject those evil intentions onto such a pure and delicate woman, when in reality she was strained from the very beginning. She probably even wanted the damn thing, forcing me to pay after the fact, probably. How sly of her. How fucking sly of her. Looking down on me like that. Fucking bitch. This time. Oh, shit! Wait, yikes. Okay, can't we speak for a bit? She said, extremely tense. It was now a full hour after meeting her at the bar. I chatted with her for a bit, not hiding my complete disinterest in what she was saying, only looking at her body in complete lust. I didn't say anything about her profession. Perhaps she thought I was mindful or something. Well, I betrayed that thought alright. I simply said to her, let's finish the night at the hotel. And that's where we are now. We've literally had just taken the first step into the room, and I've already ordered her to take off her clothes. We've just arrived, she pointed out. We should drink some wine to loosen up the mood, don't you think? I don't believe this. The cunt has been spreading her legs for a dirty old man for God knows how long, yet she's reluctant to the idea of undressing in front of me. How long is she going to insult me like this? I don't give a shit about your opinion on the matter. But she interjects. I said to fucking undress already. Isn't that fucking clear to you? I started shouting frantically. We're both standing in front of one another with only our feet separating us apart. She's visibly agitated by my sudden behavior. Thankfully enough, the exit is behind me so she can escape easily. She does as I ask, and she visibly pained by the fact while I look at her every moment with those ever so filthy eyes of mine. I'm so absorbed by her that I almost forget how to breathe. Oh, what's this? Is this supposed to be your cute side or something? How disgusting. To my surprise, she's not wearing a G-string. She's wearing an ordinary panties with some ridiculous motifs on it. Oh, some kind of running shoes or something. Oh man. Yeah, I wear it because, well, you don't like it? A sneer exaggeratively as an answer to her question. Her eyes fall down in frustration. I start enjoying myself. Humiliating her might very well be what I needed to finally cope with myself. Whoa, yikes. But while those pleasant thoughts start to take form inside of my mind, I finally realized something. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, by the way, guys, when I started this thing. So, like, this whole thing right here, I thought, I don't know, I was gonna go through some kind of, like, the synopsis of the whole story was, like, you know, young boy and girl get into, like, this whole fight thing, and then I thought maybe from their fight they're gonna hold grudges, of course, which he still is, and maybe from there on out they begin to like each other. But we're taking a whole entirely different route right here, and I don't like it, so yikes. She took off her panties, alright, but what is she? Hey, what the fuck are you doing? She stares at the ground shyly. I just... Stop hiding yourself like that. I want to see every little detail of this slutty body of yours. Aren't you supposed to be proud of it? Showing it to every loser you meet for just a few empty bucks? She was both hiding her breasts and her crotch with her arms and hands, as though she was undressing in front of a man for the very first time. How long is she going to balk me like this? I don't want it this way. Not while you don't. Heh? I walked up to her, enraged. Is she telling me she can't do it with me? That even though she literally selling her body and shame away every single day, she can still refuse me of all people? How fucking insulting. And I was even trying to keep a minimum of respect. But now, I pushed her hard on the bed. She fell onto it without any means of fighting back. But even as she's lying on the top of the bed, completely defenseless, she still tries the best she can to hide herself from me, as if I was the most disgusting and vile monster she ever saw. Enough! I climbed the bed without showing any restraint. The fact that she still hasn't cried out for the help surprises me immensely. As I, without a shred of a doubt, must look extremely terrifying right now. In no time at all, I'm on top of her, desperately trying to force her arms on top of her head in order to pin her down her movements. I finally achieved my end without too much difficulty. The moment I remembered that delicacy was not in the dictionary of the monster she thought of me. It's no one's fault except her own. She made me who I am. It cannot be helped. She should be asking for forgiveness. If she hadn't laughed at me for all these years, this situation would never have come to existence. Something inside of me was shouting those things to me, encouraging me in going further. At least with her arms out of the way, I could finally take one good look at her body. No need to explain that. At the very moment, I was already at my limit and ready to explode. My eyes licked her all the way from the bottom to the top. Those long and delicate legs, her slender arms and stomach, those huge pale breasts, and then her face. Her face without that smile. Her face, which was bright red, contorted in a sorrowful expression. She was crying. For that she was. But those were not tears out of fear for her life. She didn't ask me to let go of her, or to at least be gentle with her. She was just silently crying as if she had given up. She wasn't scared at all of me. She was disappointed. Of me? Of her? Of the situation? I have no idea. But why was I even trying to understand anyway? By that point, I had stopped myself. For what reason? I don't know. Her behavior was hypnotizing me. I didn't know what to think of it. Isn't this what I was wishing for? It was my fantasy, wasn't it? To take away this smile of hers? This happiness? But now I realized there was never any happiness in that smile to begin with. Our eyes met with those big brown eyes full of distress. I could drown myself inside them, right then and there, with how tearful they were. They were passionate, and they held a darkness darker than my own. Noticing my slight hesitation, she took it as an opportunity to mutter out something faint, something almost inedible, something incredible. I love you. I always loved you. What the fuck is this cunt babbling about? Yet, though I didn't want to hear her bullshit, she kept on opening her mouth and closing it as though she was saying intelligible things. I wanted to at least say it to you. I wanted to know how I feel. I wanted you to know how I feel. I know how much you hated me. How much you hate me. It's so easy to see, but I absolutely need to get this off my chest. Now I'm ready. Just please stop looking so sad like that. You don't need to get you don't need to get out of your way to make me understand. You don't need to act anymore. She wasn't scared at all. I was nothing to her. Those eyes were telling me this. I started laughing dryly like a maniac. She's continuously harassing me, even in this situation. She saw through me with ease. I was never a match for her. I let go of her dully, get off the bed slowly, and turned away from her, completely defeated. Still, I was laughing. Like a broken record, I was laughing. Good. I tried to speak, but I guess I'm not totally prepared for it yet. I take another breath and then try another time. Get out. There's no use anymore. All I ever wanted was for her to feel as hopeless as I do. But now that I have noticed that her hopelessness was greater than even my own, there was no point in doing this anymore. There was nothing left for me to take away from her. Anymore. There was never anything for me to take away from her in the first place. How fucking pathetic. I don't wanna, she said without decisiveness. I didn't see her. I didn't have any courage to look at her anymore, but I knew what kind of face she was making. Get out, you fucking bitch! To that, she hugged me from behind. It was an awkward hug. Something normally only an inexperienced teenage boy would uncomfortably do to his first girlfriend. Yet I felt her strength, her determination. How irritating. I turn around violently. I take her perfect visage roughly in my left hand, put strength on my hold, push her on the wall beside us, all the while making sure she feels the pain with every motion I make. Don't you understand? If you stay here, I'll break you. My face was extremely close to hers. I could have literally eaten her all up right that instant. Yet she didn't flinch. She didn't look away from my fully dilated pupils. She didn't show any sign of pain, even though she was definitely feeling quite some. She was now showing me her true self for the first time in all those years. And at that very moment, that's exactly what I want you to do. Oh, wait, what the fuck's going on, bro? Yo, wait a minute. Cassandra? I noticed that out of the both of us, I was the one who was really frightened. Oh shit, I thought we were gonna keep going with that. Fuck. The explanation I didn't need. Wait. What happened? There was so much, she dropped, like... Where's our explanation? I needed more of that. Yikes. Wait, yikes. Oh, hold up, guys. Okay. I don't remember much about that night. Or maybe I just don't want to remember. The only thing I can say for sure is that there was something I found out about myself on that day. Something that I probably shouldn't have. Okay, we're still here, I think. No, never mind, this is a flashback. As I was about to leave the hotel, it must have been around 5 a.m. the next morning. Cassandra stopped me casually and said, I want you to come back. I want you to come back, see me next week, alright? Okay. And my reply to that was, not a chance, idiot. She flashed me a smile nonetheless. I wonder if she knew. I wonder if she knew she already had me. After that, After that, I met with her on the same day. Once a week, we would drink it together at the bar she was working at, and we would always finish the night at the same hotel right after. It must have been around the third week that I finally decided to ask about it. She was speaking to me in a great length like always, just after having sex. I was sitting on the corner of the bed listening to her half-heartedly while sucking on a cigarette. Yeah, I was a smoker by then. Took the habit out of nowhere, probably to look even more pathetic than I already was. We should go see it together. They say it's the movie of the decade. Shut up. I said to her briskly in reply. Yet, I wonder if you'd pay for my entry fee. I bet you would. You're that type of man after all. Giggle. She was laughing and smiling like always. I first thought she would stop acting this way the moment she finally showed me her true self, but she betrayed my expectation. She's exactly the same whether we're alone or not. The only time when she behaves differently is when we're having sex. She would fixate me, always in the eyes with a frightening passion. Normally, I'm the one my bad guys. Normally, I'm the only one who's cold and violent, but when we're having sex, she could very well be seen as disturbed as I am. I wonder then why she was always smiling. Was it fake or was it not? Even I, who had known her better than anyone else, had no clue. How can someone as empty as her smile so thoroughly like this? I badly wanted to know, but why? Why was I even involving myself with the likes of her? It's not like my feelings had changed all of a sudden. I still very much hated the thing she is. I didn't understand myself anymore. I still needed to know. So without thinking much, I asked her something for the first time since almost forever. I asked her something I wish I hadn't. Why did you end up this way? She was surprised, obviously. Obviously, I had disturbed her while she was speaking with. Her surprise didn't come from the fact. But her surprise didn't come from the fact. She looked at me and smiled at me silently for a time, but not with that smile. A smile as though she had won something. A smile as though there was hope somewhere, somehow. She was just genuinely happy, I think. Or maybe there was something with that smile that I didn't understand back then. All I knew was that she was waiting for that question. So she told me her tale. Some stereotypical bullshit I didn't want to hear. Her father had a lot of money when she was younger. He was some kind of successful businessman or investor or whatever. I didn't listen all that well, to be honest, but he had enough money to get by, was the term she used, whatever that meant. And in 5th grade, out of nowhere, Cassandra started showing interest in her studies. So much so that she was at the top of her class every following year. Seeing her growing up to become such an outstanding woman, her father decided to invest in her by starting paying for her later education, some kind of prestigious university or something like that. Didn't even know you could pay for such a thing so early in the game. Anyway, now for the plot twist. Her father pretty much lost everything by trying to invest in some real estate market bullshit. Wrong time, wrong place. That's when they always say anyway. So sure enough, now that he was poor as shit, he started thinking about the investment he made on his daughter. The problem is, such an investment takes a really long time to pay off. That's the fact that it's your fucking daughter, you piece of shit, she deserves at least that much. But anyway, he kind of started mistreating her by blaming his sorry ass for her failure to graduate sooner, and by the time the fucker got his feet even dirtier by gambling away the little he had to subsist. So in the end, drum roll, she was forced to quit school and started working at least. The good man who her father owed money to was kind enough to show her a high-paying job she literally couldn't refuse. And that's pretty much it. Now for a test of my fucking conscience. If I hadn't started forcing my ideal of rivalry upon her, would she still have ended up like this? Or better yet, even if she did, I couldn't have done something for her. I mean, in high school, I had kind of noticed that something was strange, but did nothing nonetheless. So was it my fault? Maybe. And so, what? It didn't affect me in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Yet I still wish I hadn't asked her this. One of the last things he always said to me before he died was, "You're the golden egg that never hatched, the definition of useless." I get up from the bed. I need to go now. I said, though I didn't really need to. That fast? But I want to be with you. And you paid for the whole night, and... She was sulking, puffing her cheeks like a child. If I weren't an asshole, I would probably have found her behavior cute. But my only thought to that was... You're disgusting. I took my keys off the coffee table and left, her words still hanging. They'll come back next Thursday, right? Closing the door behind me, I stayed for a time there, motionless. My hands were clenched tightly in a form of fist. I was frustrated for some reason. If I had stayed for a minute longer, those fists would have probably been thrown at her. Fuck. I had a hard time understanding myself. If it hurts me so much staying around her, why was I always coming back to this place? Am I yearning for this? This pitiful excuse for a relationship? I had a vague idea as for the reason behind my illogical behavior, but I didn't want to think it's true. Because this would mean my whole life was even more of a joke than I first thought it was. Interesting. The inevitable disruption? That was a short chapter. Huh. That was nice. It just told her backstory. What I'm getting at right now, though, I don't know, this is just kind of like my own feeling of what's happening. But I think our main character here is about to get absolutely fucked. Like, I don't know why. Is it just me right now? I need someone else to back me up on this, but I just feel like Tim is about to get fucked. Yeah. Alright. I guess I can keep playing. It's been like an hour or so now. Whew. Oh, whoops. Okay. Yeah, okay. Alright. The 7th week marked a change in this stupid routine of ours. By then, we were already no longer meeting at her workplace. Instead, we would simply meet directly at our hotel room, which means we could see each other at a more appropriate time than in the middle of the week, and I would no longer have to pay for her fees as well. And this I found very shady indeed, because the reason we only saw each other on Thursday was because she worked only on that particular day. But that doesn't make any sense, does it? Hey. How she is able to subsist herself if she only works once a week. Am I even pronouncing that word right? Alright, whatever. Sure, she may have another job somewhere, or more like, she definitely must have. But every time I ask her, she simply denies it, and I won't go out of my way to get the answer out of her. I don't care enough for that to happen, but it's still nagging me somehow. I entered our room nonchalantly like I always did, and she was waiting for me on the couch at the far back of the room while looking at her phone like she always did. "Oh, you brought us food. You're so diligent. I hope you didn't forget a fork this time around." She throws herself at the bags I was carrying like this bundle of energy that she is. "Hey, this isn't my lunch, you idiot. This is my lunch, you idiot. You say this, yet there are 2 bags. You're so not honest with yourself." Man, she's such a kid. "Your fork is in the... Wait a minute. Huh? Where is it?" She doesn't look my way. She's too engrossed in searching the content of the bag frantically, with the question marks hovering on the top of her head. Or at least, that's what she's trying to make me think. I dropped my keys and jackets on the floor right then and there. I took her right arm forcefully enough to make her so for her expression to contort in pain. With my right hand, I pushed her chin upward to better see the features in her face. Well, what is it? We're not even in bed yet. You're so naughty today. She says teasingly. Shut up. She stopped speaking instantly by my powerful words. I softly brushed around her left eye with my thumb. Her eye closes instinctively by my touch. Even if she applied makeup to hide it, it's still very much visible. I don't remember having done this to you. Who did this? It's nothing really. It doesn't hurt, see? She pushes two of her fingers against the corner of her left black eye, and... Oh yeah, damn, she does have a black eye. I didn't even notice. That was so small. I thought it was just eyeshadow or whatever. Is that even eyeshadow? Dude, I don't even know. And though her words say otherwise, she still looks into pain in the moment. She applies pressure on her skin. Answer me. She simply looks down, almost ashamed of herself. Instinctively, I try to put my hand on her waist to comfort her somehow, but the moment my hand touches her body, I see her grimaces slightly. I take her shirt and lift it up without minding destroying the damn thing. And sure enough, there are dark marks all over her waist and belly. Marks that only a man could have done. Answer me, goddammit! Who did this to you? Well, she thinks carefully about her next words. You know, sometimes clients can get out of hand, and... Which one? I don't know him. It was the first time I saw him. I don't remember his face. My grip on her only tightened enough the more she adds. More words she adds. Isn't it your employer's job to make sure those things don't happen in the first place? Even if that's the case, doesn't change the fact I have a black eye, right? Please, let's not talk about this, alright? I want to enjoy myself. I've literally been waiting for today all week. I didn't answer her, nor did I look her way. I was lost in thought. I didn't understand why I was so frustrated. It was uncontrollable. And I know I shouldn't act illogically, but doesn't mean you know something that you'll automatically apply in your thought process. Fuck. Is this because you don't like this? I can try to apply more makeup if you want. I'm sure you won't notice it when we'll be having sex, so I should let go of her. If I continue on adding pressure on her arm like this, it will definitely swell up. Yeah. Come. What? Are we leaving already? And what about the food? You can eat it in the car. Now come. But it will be cold, and where are we going anyway? Far from all of this. Really far from all of this. Forward to the unknown. Alright. You know, last chapter, or at the beginning of this chapter, I said something about my thoughts of what's gonna happen. You know, honestly, I don't even fucking know anymore, to be honest. I'm actually lost for words. But I'm really engrossed with the story, though. I gotta say, it's... I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. It was on impulse. It had already been 2 hours since we left the hotel. I was driving in the middle of the night, not knowing still where the road was going to lead us. She had stopped talking and asking me questions for a while now, only looking through the window motionlessly. She still hasn't touched her food yet. She was mad, baby? But it was too dark for me to really see her expression from the angle of her face. Still, I was curious about her thoughts right now. Sorry, guys. The freaking audio is really loud. Okay. It's still loud, or whatever. Still, I was curious about her thoughts right now. She who never showed her true color, what lies underneath her carefree and good-natured demeanor. Maybe something like me. But her silence was too good to be true. Soon, her mouth started moving again. You're really doing this, aren't you? Do you even know the impact of this choice you're about to make? I don't care. Then why are you doing this? If you don't care, I'm doing this because I can't stand seeing you like this anymore. That's why. Don't you understand that this life of yours is not worth living? If this continues on like this, they're going to what? Kill me? Break me? Why should you care? Shouldn't you be rejoicing? After all, you hate me. Shut up. But it's the truth, isn't it? Shut up! I shouted at her. I didn't want to have this conversation. I didn't even know the answer myself. All I knew is that I needed to get as far away as possible, as soon as possible. Is this because you feel responsible? Is that it? Then I'm going to clear things up once and for all. This has nothing to do with you. It never had. This has always been my father's fault to begin with. This is not your responsibility. You understand? I'll be the one judging on that. They are the mafia, Tim, and I owe them a lot of money. If I disappear like this, they're going to pursue me and find me. And if that's the time if at that time you're there with me, they're not going to let you off easily. They're going to... She stops talking. From the corner of my eye, I can see her tears rolling down her cheek uncomfortably, as if the thought of my death alone was enough to make her cry. What of it? I can see her powerful gaze on me, the moment those words leave my mouth. Anger, something I've never seen throughout her features, no matter how I treated her, as now being triggered by those simple and trivial words. Don't you understand how dangerous this is? They're going to kill you. You have a girlfriend, don't you? And a job you worked hard to obtain. If you persist in trying to save me like this, you're going to throw away everything you've been trying to build your whole life. You can't sacrifice all of this for something as stupid as... My foot slammed on the brake pedal with all its might. The scream of the tires stretched out for the long 5 seconds until the car finally stopped completely. I then leaned on her. I unlocked her door and opened it in one single motion. If you don't like this, then get out. We're still close to the bus station. You can probably manage to return to the city before morning. I have made my decision. I have no plan for you to understand it. And I don't plan for you to understand it. Responsibility? Toward whom? You? You don't make me laugh. I'm doing this for myself, alright? She muttered one single word. Liar. How stupid can you be? I ain't fucking lying, you dumb bitch. A girlfriend? A job? A life? I had no interest in those fucking things. I always felt completely empty. All this fucking painful life of mine has always been one big recurring joke. No, I've been waiting for this kind of opportunity all my life. It just so happens that it is tonight. No, now, or you follow me and become my partner in crime, or you can get the fuck out and return to that hell you proudly call your life. She looks at me in the eyes, the same way she always done when we're having sex. She has no smile, she has no expression, she has no happiness. The purity with which she's always been looking at the world around her is nothing to be found, as if it was always but a fleeting illusion. This is the real her. She doesn't shift her cold gaze from me while closing her door slowly. I waited for this my whole life, and there's no way I'm going to let it get away from me like this. Let's go. Those are her words, powerful, without any hesitation. I don't say anything back. I'm not able to. Her determination seems dangerous somehow. So I just unconsciously start driving again, as though this whole conversation never took place. I break eye contact with her, focused on the road. Is this maybe what they call eloping? It's exciting. The moment my eyes fell back on her, she has the most beautiful smile I've ever seen in this entire world. There's a lot of chapters in this. Jesus Christ, how long is this novel? Eloping isn't the word. After driving for half a day, we finally stopped in a cheap motel and to rest and regain some of our energy. At the same time, I took this opportunity to collect my thoughts. While this situation might have started as a brainless and impulsive act, keeping up with this attitude will only bring us down in the long run. In the end, we might need a good plan if we want to have a good shot at this. I first thought we had a good amount of time ahead of us, but this assumption was a big mistake of mine. By asking for a bit more details, I found out that Cassandra was living with another hostess from that bar, so even though she's working only once a week, the other girl will soon find out about her disappearance. I could have asked her to try and contact that girl and maybe convince her not to say a word to their boss, but this would have been too big of a risk for only postponing the inevitable as a result. Ultimately, I think trusting someone will only trigger the start of our downfall. I look at her. She's carelessly sleeping beside me while I am the one stressing about all those things. She doesn't seem to care all that much since she showed me that determination of hers. Seriously, what am I doing? Getting out of my way for what? This? Sleeping in this cheap-ass bed, eating this disgusting convenient store food? This is all her. No. What am I thinking? No matter how I look at this, I choose to do this for my own violation. Right? I shouldn't hold it against her. Still, I know there's a darkness in my heart that I have yet to get rid of. That darkness which is whispering me to destroy her. So did you choose where we're going, my love? She says shamelessly the moment we enter the car. Stop that. It's disturbing. But we're eloping. I can at least call you that much, right? No, we're not. Eloping would mean that we're about to wed, and we're clearly not. But I want to wed. I love you, and we're going to live together from now on. So, she puts on her hand on my shoulder while smiling brightly. So what? There's no logic behind your words. Then get off of me. I shook her off without any consideration of her feelings, or even her well-being. Boo, you're no fun. She sticks out her tongue like that little kid before turning her attention toward the window, sulking. Man, she's a handful. I've decided our destination. I've thought about it for a long time, and what do you think of Las Vegas? She instantly looked back at me, sparkles in her eyes. So does that mean we're really going to get married after all? I've always wanted to go to Las Vegas. Back off. I decided this out of convenience for us, not for your little fantasy. Well, I knew how much you wanted to go there. She's talked about it more than once, so I might have taken that into an account. But I'm not actually going to say that, am I? But I don't understand. Should we try to go to some unknown villages instead of going to such a big city to try and lay low or something? Aren't we asking to be found if we go there? Not exactly. The best place to hide a tree is inside a forest, right? Logically, when you think about someone trying to escape from a group like that, like the Mafia, you would think that this person is going to hide some distant place, far away from urban civilization. That's exactly how his pursuers are going to think so. So naturally, they're going to first search those uncivilized areas. You understand where I'm going with this. Yeah, but while it does look all good on paper, it doesn't mean it will go that smoothly. That place is known to be run by criminals, right? So it shouldn't be too far-fetched to think that they have ties to our own pursuers. My bad. If we're going to a small place, village or whatever, we're going to attract a lot of unwanted attention. They all know each other in those places, and look at us. Not what we could call countryside people, are we? If you say so. She doesn't seem to buy it. Is she scared? She shouldn't be. One more thing. I need her to understand this perfectly, else none of this is worth it. Even if they find us, it doesn't change anything, does it? In the end, both of our lives have never been worth living. I won't live my days in such a boring place as a village, or crawling in fear inside a hole somewhere. My life has been nothing but boredom already, so... She looked at me, clueless. Let's try and have some fun, shall we? She regains that smile of hers so naturally. A beautiful, pure, and bright smile. A smile that I would have done anything to destroy before. I was now the source of its existence. I should feel flattered by this. I should. Yet, how disgusting. Chapter 8. Las Vegas. Okay. As I think, or I'm just gonna be calling it right here, because I can't believe I went through 8 chapters. My throat is honestly killing me right now. Like, and it's so hard to, like, there's so much text. I'm starting to mess up a lot more now too, but no, this is great. This was great. This was I still don't know what's gonna be what's gonna happen in the future, but what I'm trying to predict, I mean, it is Las Vegas. She had a point in the whole people there are all criminals and they have ties to their pursuers. So I do feel like they are gonna get caught at some point in the story. But the thing is, I still feel like they're not gonna die, both of them, or from the mafia or anything like that. I still feel like there's this tension between them still, from both of them. Like I still don't know what Cassandra is playing at. It seems right now that she does. Well, I mean, she's confessed that she's loved him for all this time, and now Tim is finally developing feelings for Cassandra, which is awesome. Finally. I seriously hated reading the text in the beginning of the first 4 chapters of him just calling her, like, I don't know, just being a baby about the whole ruining his life thing. Did she really, Tim? Did she really ruin your life? Jeez. Yeah, but I'm glad where the story is going now. It's very interesting, and I just need to stop this here, guys. Sorry. Next video will come out probably in the next few days. I'm not doing anything, so I can actually keep recording. I just have to stop now because of my throat. And yeah, hopefully you guys really enjoy this. I hope to continue this series, Her Lie I Tried to Believe, on YouTube. So stay tuned, guys. Bye.